Hola, hola. Thank you so much for being here today. I have a special guest. Her name is Adriana. Adriana, welcome so much to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Adriana and I met at FinCon. It's a conference for financial experts that meet and collaborate. We learn from each other, and it's very insightful. And I had the opportunity to meet Adriana there, and we chatted, and I said, you got to come on the show and talk about how we can increase our income and how we can. I know that she's an expert in HR and all things HR, but negotiating pay was one of the conversations. And so I'm like, you got to come on the show to talk about it. So Adriana, welcome, and tell us a little bit about yourself, about your platform, and about your HR experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you said, I'm Adriana. I am the owner and founder of Adriana Talks Dinero. So, actually, for my 9 to 5, I am in human resources and I have been for the past 13 years. Worked my way up into the different sort of titles. And with Adriana Talks Dinero, I started that 3 years ago. So essentially, at one of my HR jobs, it was kind of like a little bit of the aftermath of the pandemic. And it was in the metals industry that supported the automotive industry. And because of the chip shortage that we were experiencing during that time, we just were not making money. So the company decided to go ahead and get rid of that division entirely. And pulled me in like 9 months into starting this role. And they said, Adriana, we're going to go ahead and shut down operations and we're going to lay everyone off, which included me. So I went ahead, went through the whole process of laying everyone off. And I also tried my best to go ahead and get them on a good sort of foot, per se, in this new chapter of now being unemployed. So I went ahead and spoke to my manager at the time to go ahead and negotiate their severance package, to also try to give them the tools and the resources to go ahead and just have them understand what like unemployment looks like. For example, here in Illinois, you can actually go ahead and double your income, per se, because the state of Illinois sees a severance package as a gift. So you'll go ahead and get unemployment and you'll go ahead and get your severance package. So not every state has that. So look into what the rules and regulations are for every state. But during that time, I also decided, hey, like this is a lot of heavy emotional stuff. I'm going to go ahead and start my business with Adriana Talks Dinero. So it's been in business for 3 years. And I started that because that experience was super eye-opening for me, that I saw that our community like is not prepared to lose income, especially when it is their only source of income. So took a 6 month sabbatical because I already had savings aside in my FU fund. And then I also had the severance package, and then I had the unemployment that kind of helped me over. And I said to myself, if I don't make it like in terms of like replacing my income, then I'll just go back to HR. It's not the worst thing I can go ahead and do. Like the majority of the world has a 9 to 5. So I did just that. Now working in HR again, more in the aerospace industry, but still the metals. And I still run my business. And really, with my business, I try to go ahead and empower and educate the community, especially first and second gen Latinas, to understand finances a little better, because so many of us are either immigrants ourselves or children of immigrants, where we kind of have a different starting line than those that have been here maybe 2, 3, 4, or 5 generations. So it's really educating the community and really empowering them when it comes to their finances. And pay negotiations, one of them. I'm on the other side of the table, so I can tell you everything that's going on the back end, so you can go ahead and get top dollar. Because what I always say is, as you're going into a job, it's a business deal. So you better get paid, pretty good, because you're going to give up 40 plus hours a week to this company, and they're paying you for your skill set, your knowledge, your education, and all the things.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. So you were able to keep your sabbatical and double dip into the unemployment. Yeah. Wow. I don't think we have that in Arizona. I'm not quite sure, but wow, I'll have to look into that. See, these are all the little things, right? Like I don't know
Mhm.
comes to money. There's a lot I still have to learn, but I feel like I've mastered at least one part where it's like the budgeting, the having the fun, the having at least some, I call it like the foundation. Like you
Yeah.
kind of really can't do much without a plan, and that's what a budget is. And so
Absolutely.
I feel because I've mastered, I've been doing that since 2010. I feel like, okay, I can talk about it, or I feel like when I talk on this podcast or when I'm doing my content, I'm talking to the 2010 Mayra, from back in the day that didn't know anything.
Yeah.
Nobody ever sat down with me and talked to me about like how to organize your money or how to like, be mindful with debt and things like that. Like nobody told me anything. It was, it's such a taboo topic in our community. And that's what I kind of want to help, like, just be of service and helpful to the community because it's hard. Like you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
All right. So one of the questions that I have is you said you spent years in human resources. Can you
Yes.
take back to when you first realized the power of pay negotiations? And what was a moment or experience that made you say, wow, this is something women really need?
Yeah, so it was actually at my first big girl job right out of my internship. So I got into HR by an internship. And for anyone who is studying human resources or knows or is in a human resources, it's really hard to get your foot in the door. So I always tell everybody, like, if that is a field that you want to go ahead and get into, like, just get your foot in the door. And I did with the internship, and that just kind of opened opportunities for me. So I ended up at a manufacturing facility. And it was the first of the year. And usually at the first of the year for us in HR, that means that like everyone gets their vacation time again, everyone gets their personal sick time all over again, right? Your bucket gets refilled or the accrual process starts, however your company does it. So one of the quality managers came in on the manufacturing end and he's like, Adriana, he's like, I'm looking at my vacation time on my pay stub and it's wrong. I'm like, what do you mean it's wrong? Because the handbook says you get, I think it was like 2 weeks of vacation time until you get like so many years of service and it keeps on going up. And he's like, no, he's like, I negotiated mine. And I'm like, thinking to myself, negotiated. I'm like, hold on. And I said, let me go get your file and see what the offer letter says. Because back then, this was, I think, like 2015, and they still had like paper files. Like it hasn't gone digital. Everything's digital now. But I went into the file closet and it's all locked up. So I'd unlock it, look for his file, pulled it out, dug through everything, and looked at his offer letter. And I'm like, oh, sure as shit. Like he did negotiate his pay and he negotiated his vacation time. So I'm like, okay, I'm like, I'll go ahead and update it and you'll see it reflected in the next pay period. And that's kind of where I'm like, and this is a white man, right? And I was like, well, if he can do it and he was successful, then I can do it in the future as I start growing. So when I started with the company, I was an associate and I was just finishing up my bachelor's degree. I was probably, I think, like 4 months away. So once I finished my bachelor's, I negotiated my pay. I asked for more money because now I'm officially educated per se. And I ended up getting a promotion from that, which was a good thing. But it was that experience that I said, if this white man can ask for more money and they said yes, or for more vacation time in this sense, because that's what I knew when he told me, I'm like, this little brown girl can too. So that's where it all started.
I have something similar that happened to me. So I was at ADP the first half of this year and in July, but I was a consultant that implemented timekeeping systems and HR systems in different companies. So as I'm learning, I'm in training, I'm learning how to set up the different roles and how to set up the different accruals and things like that for everybody. It gave me a scenario of somebody that had negotiated more PTO and how that was like a whole separate profile that I would have to build in order to implement the system correctly. And that's when I was like, wait, people do this? Like you're teaching me this because people do this and I'm going to have to like teach the client how to do this.
Yep.
And that was like an aha moment of I didn't know. And I was literally had just had a conversation with a coworker, Kristen, there at ADP. And I said, I wish I would have known that I could negotiate my PTO because I went from Employee Bridge, where I had over, I think I was accruing about 8 or 10 hours a paycheck,
Oh, wow.
to ADP, where I was starting from scratch because I was new and I was only doing like 3 and some hours a paycheck. And I was a little bitter about like giving up so much PTO, but I didn't know that you could negotiate more. So because
Yeah.
I value PTO so much more, I will definitely, like keep that top of mind if, I ever have to negotiate again. But it's definitely something that like, yeah, I had no idea. Like
Anything's
I
on the table. Anything. And whatever the handbook says, like you don't have to listen to it, like negotiate. Because everyone's always like, well, it says in the handbook, like you only get 2 weeks or whatever. And I'm like, you can negotiate that. I don't care what the handbook says. And that's coming from HR.
Wow. Okay. So I hope that you know that the audience is going to be negotiating their pay and
They better.
go. Okay. So many of us were never taught how to negotiate. So from your experience in HR, what are some of the biggest mistakes you've seen people make when it comes to asking for a raise or negotiating a new offer?
Um, so the two big things that I see is that they don't ever have like data or proof. Usually, when you are negotiating, it ends up going to the hiring manager. The hiring manager has a budget that they went ahead and they set for this job. Now, in HR, we'll give kind of like a scale. So this is the low, the mid, and the high. That, we've done the comp analysis or compensation, which is your overall pay, and we've done other data driven projects and things in order to get these numbers. So when people just come forward and they're like, let's say that the offer is 85,000 and they're like, I want 100 grand. And they don't give any concrete information. Like they don't give like what their market value is. Your market value is how much you're worth out in the job market. And it goes by experience, education, languages, geographical area, or they just do like a set number. They don't give a range. So how you're supposed to go about it appropriately is you have data to go ahead and back it up. So if it's a new job, you go ahead and say, well, I'm educated up to, let's say, an MBA. I speak English and Spanish, and I see that you have a Spanish speaking workforce. I have 13 years experience. I have these certifications and things like that. And after doing my market research, because you're supposed to do your market research within your geographical area, you go ahead and say, and after doing my market research on my experience, my talents against my peers in the workforce, I should be getting paid between 95,000 to 115,000. Or they go ahead and pick that number that the market value says. If you want to give one concrete number, then you're supposed to jack it up 10,000. So let's say you want that 100,000, you go ahead and say, hey, can I have 110? So if they do end up trying to lowball you again, you get closer to the 100. And then if they're like, okay, we'll give it to you, then you're winning at the end of the day with a $110,000 base salary. So those are really like the two things, like not having data. Managers love data. So if you have that proof on why you're asking for that money, because sometimes if you just say, well, I want 100,000 and you give no reason why, they will kind of give you the side eye. And I think a lot of people too, as I have coached individuals for pay negotiation, the number one fear that I see in communities of color and also women is they say that they don't say anything because they're scared that the offer letters and get pulled out from under them. But that's not it at all. Like we went through all of these hoops to go ahead and interview all these people and we chose you. Like there's not going to be a hiring manager that's going to go ahead and just say, well, F her because she wants $5,000 or $10,000 more. Vale la pena after going through all of that, and then you're the number one choice.
Okay. So I think that's true because I can relate to the piece of like I've not negotiated because I feel like if I do, the offer is going to be rescinded and
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be out of luck. But that's good to know that on the opposite end, like they don't want to start all over.
No, it's so much work. It's so much work. And it's probably, is it like that person that you're backfilling already left, either, recently or 2 weeks ago. So everyone on the team is taking on more work. That manager is taking on more work. They want to go ahead and fill the role. So why would they want to interview all over again? And then two, if they rescind the offer and give it to number two, the manager's always going to have something in the back of their mind. We should have hired her. We should have hired her because you were the number one pick. So I've I've never the only times I see offers rescinded is if like a background comes back really shady.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. That's good to know that we do have that negotiating power. And we have to master that selling ourselves, like with the data, right? Like having the
Mhm.
research that says, hey, here's what the market is paying and here's where you should be at.
Mhm.
That's awesome. Well, thank you. Okay.
Mhm.
So listening that has never negotiated before, me included. Maybe she's feeling nervous. What is the first step she should take to prepare? What kind of research or mindset should she focus on?
Yeah, so it is a mindset shift, right? Like we are raised to be told, like, I given to see that it is, how lucky and blessed are you that you have an office job? You don't have to break your back for money. Or we're supposed to feel so lucky to be in these spaces. You deserve to be in those spaces.
I also hear that just agarra lo que te den.
Yeah,
Yeah, like, agarra lo que te
yeah.
den.
Yeah, no, and I see that all the time. Like I see that in like terminations when they do severance packages and, they don't negotiate that, or, they're lowballed. If you don't have an HR person that's advocating for the employees, like they're going to let the hiring manager lowball because that's within their budget. And I think a big thing too is, as you're going out to brunch with the girlfriends or you're going out for drinks or out for dinner, like talk about like what benefits you have at work, talk about how much you get paid. Tell them, hey, I'm scared as if, but I'm going to negotiate my pay on this next one because I'm sick and tired of living paycheck to paycheck. Or, I have a master's degree and they're only paying me like $65,000 and I'm bilingual. That's completely fine. And two, I mean, go ahead and start using your skill set from like your personal life. Like I'm the eldest daughter to immigrant parents. So I have a heck of a whole lot of skill sets that start kind of intertwining into my work. And it really ends up modeling or molding who and what I am in the workforce, right? Like being raised in the Chicagoland area, we do have a very diverse community out here. Even with just like within the Latino community, it's not just Mexicans. Like a lot of people think like we have, people from Puerto Rico, from Colombia, from Venezuela, de Peru, like everywhere. So like even just within like our little corner of the world, like there's that diverse part, and that has helped me a ton within my job because I can go ahead and work with people of all colors, all backgrounds, all cultures, like two languages. And there's a lot of my peers that cannot do that because they were not exposed to that, or multitasking or translation, all those sorts of things. Make note of all the wonderful skills and talents that you have within your personal life and what you've used as you've grown up and are now in adulthood that can go ahead and mirror into your career as well. So, we're powerful people.
We are. And I think that mindset shift, like if we can dig into that a little bit and see like what do we do to have that growth mindset? What can we do to focus on that piece? Because I feel like when we do have that growth mindset, it affects like everywhere, like all throughout your life, like not just with pay negotiations. But since we're talking about that specifically, what can we do? Like, are there like certain things that we can tell ourselves, or what would you recommend in order to have that shift to that growth mindset?
I'm a huge person on therapy.
Okay.
Yeah. When I was getting laid off at my job, I actually went to go see a therapist because I had to disconnect my self-worth to my job. Because, that was a big thing. Like my whole identity kind of surrounded like HR, and now it's not. It's just something like, yeah, I do this for 40 hours a week and that's about it. But it therapy is a huge thing. Like a lot of us have a lot of mindset blocks. A lot of us have a lot of traumas that maybe is not ours to carry, that we've just kind of inherited from other people. And the big thing for me too, especially going into like the entrepreneur world, who you surround yourself with, right? Like I'm a huge a believer that you should not take advice from people that you do not aspire to be like.
Ooh, say that again.
So you do not take advice from people that you do not aspire to be like. Here in the Chicagoland area, I have an amazing group of women. They are my jefas. They're my jefa circle, my jefa group, and they all have amazing talents. Many of them are very multifaceted. I have a friend that owns a nonprofit and owns Airbnb. She does, creative photography and money coaching and things. And I have another one who does in the arts as well with photography and travel and has an Airbnb and is just growing in that. I have friends that have like tangible products that, they go ahead and really embrace the Latinidad and so many different um, places of their journey, right? So many different chapters. So I learn from every single one of them. And being in spaces with them has really shifted my mindset on what the possibilities can look like compared to maybe sitting at a table at a 9 to 5. I was listening to something, I think it was on TikTok, and someone was doing an interview with Barack Obama and something that he said, and I'm like, heck yeah. He said, once you get to some of these tables, you kind of look around and you're like, how the F did you get to this table? Or like, why the F did I work so hard to get to this table? Because this is BS.
Mhm.
And it's true because I have sat at those tables with upper leadership. Like the desmadre que like they talk about and stuff, or like the things that they say. I'm just like, para qué la chingada? Like, am I killing myself to be at this damn table? I want to be at the other damn table.
Yes, absolutely. And I feel like you touched on a very important piece, community.
Mm-hmm.
Surround yourself with women that have that growth mindset. You're most, it's gonna like, como se dice, like rub off on you, right? Like you're gonna like, oh, that's how problem solve. That's how you overcome that. I think for me here in Phoenix, we have a few communities too where I've plugged in. I would say the very first one that I did was Mujeron with Sonia.
Yep.
And then I've plugged into, like, just recently, there's the community in LA that's led by like a friend of a friend. It's the Maravillosa movement. There's definitely multiple communities, and I'm just naming a few, but we're everywhere. Like
Mm-hmm.
the communities, the people that are leading it, go to the events, go participate, go to the cafecitos, whatever it is that they're hosting, so that you can. And it's so hard, especially like if you're an introvert. I'm an extrovert, but if you're an introvert, and I've had a lot of introverted friends, it's very hard for them to get out, but it's necessary. And
Yeah.
like then maybe even plug in some downtime to like recharge your batteries, right? After
Yes.
like that, because it's hard. It's not easy. Even for me, like sometimes a mí lo que me da es vergüenza. Like sometimes I can go talk and have small talk, but like it gets to a point where it's like, okay, like be quiet because you're not like super safe yet. I don't know. I just get that like it takes me a little bit to get out of my shell. But
Mm-hmm.
it's like no me para la boca. So it's like, you have to know these things about yourself and just try to plug into where you feel, and it's okay to just try it out and see if that's community for you.
Yeah. And it's okay if it's not. I've been in communities where I'm like, this gives me the ick. I'm out. And I will never go back.
And that's so valid because like the ick can mean there are so many things that we just we're not going to agree with, or there's so many things that I might not want to be exposed to. There's a lot of reasons, and that's okay. Like, you need to listen to.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. I'm so glad that you agreed to be on the podcast and share your wisdom with us. Thank you so much, Adriana.
No, thank you so much for the opportunity. Like when we had our little conversation at the round tables there at FinCon, me preguntaste, I'm like, heck yeah, like more people need to know about this. Porque I'll tell you one thing. In the 13 years of me working in human resources, I've only had one woman negotiate their pay with me, but no people of color. And I'm still waiting for someone to change that for me. So let that be the message. Don't be that statistic for another HR person. Like, please, like negotiate something. I don't care if it's your pay, your vacation time, when your benefits start, that you want to have summer Fridays. I don't care. El más peor que puede pasar is that they're going to say no. But that's about it.
How can people find you?
So you can go ahead and find me on social. I'm the most active on Instagram and TikTok. So you can find me at Adriana Talks Dinero. I also have a website, which is adrianatalksdinero.com. So if you're interested in any sort of working together, you can find all that information there. I do one-on-one coaching. I have some signature group coaching programs, which actually one of them is pay negotiation. So if that's something you're interested in, keep an eye out for that. I actually just created a freebie, so you'll see me post that on social, which is basically like a guilt-free guide to go ahead and build your wealth for Latinas. So, I really built that from the heart, kind of, very high overview on like the different things that you should be doing with your money. So go ahead and take full advantage of that. And that will go ahead and get you on my newsletters, which I go ahead and put out every month. And that will include kind of what's ever hot and happening with Adriana Talks Dinero. And I also include a business grant and scholarships because I'm huge on education and also on entrepreneurship. And then I also have a podcast as well. So the Adriana Talks Dinero podcast. So the first episode for week 1 is in English, and then the second episode in week 2 is in Spanish. So if you're anything like me and you're trying to educate your tíos and your mom and your dad on finances and they don't listen to you, trust me, my parents don't listen to me half the time too. You can go ahead and share this podcast and I will tell them and I will educate them. And then also all of those newly arrived immigrants that are coming to the United States can also get a leg up.
I love that. That's so
Thank
good.
you.
Okay, go follow Adriana, and I will have her freebie in the show notes as well.
Thank
All right.
you.
See y'all next week.